What's going on, everybody? I know we've been away for a while, but don't worry, Go Talk is officially back. Just want to introduce our new members real quick. We got Sal, Greg, and Chris. Let's get
What
into
up,
it.
what
We're
up?
back.
Exciting times here for Goat Talk. It's I actually was on one of these episodes way back as
you
a
are.
guest, which is super exciting. But a lot to cover today: NFL, NBA, college football. So we're just gonna, as you said, Joey, get right into it. College football, though a lot of us don't have a ton of knowledge, but a couple big games happened this weekend. So starting first and foremost with the Penn State UCLA game. Penn State travels to UCLA. UCLA is 0-4 going into this game. James Franklin coming off the loss from Oregon at home for the whiteout. Penn State now drops 2 in a row. He says we're on to Northwestern. How are we feeling about Penn State and the Nittany Lions right now?
Franklin can't win big games. It's that simple. He just can't win the big games. Going into this game, I'm pretty sure UCLA they were never leading a game this whole season. There was zero time of that they were leading a game, and they go in and take down Penn State, which is huge, especially for an interim head coach. I mean, it's just crazy.
I mean, I think we were talking about a little bit before we went live. It's just like how many chances can we give the guy, as in James Franklin? I mean, like you say he doesn't show up for big games, and I mean, in those early days, I mean, yeah, you could make that argument that he did, but as of recently, in the UCLA, I mean, the head coach looks like Lord Farquaad. Like what are we doing here? That's just my opinion. It's you know, it's a shame. The fall from grace has been a shame for sure.
Yeah, I think that they got to figure it out soon and figure it out fast, because if not, big changes should be coming soon.
Interesting to see.
I just think that it's not so much the coaching, but it brings us to another major upset in Texas losing. I think Texas losing to Florida is what's been going on. The biggest question around Texas this year was Archie Manning. How's he going to perform? Everybody had all this hype. He's going to be the number one draft pick for the NFL next year. Now what? Now what happens going forward?
Yeah, I think you take a team like Texas and you look at it, though, and you look at Steve Sarkisian and what he's been able to do, gets them to a bowl game last year, gets them into the playoffs last year. They can't, they get one game, they can't get another one. I think the biggest thing, though, with Texas is you look around Archie Manning and just what he's able to do. Texas is one of those teams like an Ohio State, like a Clemson. They lose a lot of guys year over year in the draft, and Sarkisian has had a lot of trouble with adapting those losses, right? I mean, you look at Golden, top wide receiver, goes to the Packers this year in the first round. You lose the deep threat right off the bat. You try to make these adjustments, and they're not as easy. And I think a lot of it has to do with Sarkisian, because you look at teams like Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, those powerhouses that are there year over year that lose the same amount of guys, if not more, that Texas does, and they can still win. Like Georgia, in my opinion, and I know Joey, you're a Georgia fan, but Georgia, in my opinion, really truly hasn't been like relevant, quote unquote, in the college football playoff or landscape in the last 3 seasons. And even though they're still 4-1, 5-0 in all these years, right? Like they're not talked about as often. But Texas, the powerhouse, Sark's got them dialed in. Are they really? I don't know. And you look at a team like Florida, who's got nothing to lose, nobody really interesting looking to come into the draft. So again, I mean, it's just, I think more of this is on Sarkisian than it is Arch. I don't think he's going to be as good as his dad or as good as his uncles, or if he'll even make it to the NFL. But I think this is more on Sark Sark and the coaching staff from a development. I mean, you have the people in place to do it. You're just not executing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can put this all on Arch either. Again, it's been 5 starts this year. He did not get a lot of experience in the years prior. I think the natural skills are clearly there, but I also think a lot of pressure is falling on him to be that guy that his family was. Because that's a lot of pressure. That's one surefire Hall of Famer, one guy who arguably will be in the Hall of Fame as well, right? It's a lot of pressure on the kid who's probably 20 years old, maybe 21 years old. So To me, I think it's just got to settle in. The talent is there, the pieces are there. It's just about executing at this point.
And I think you see the flashes, right? Through the 5 games, like you see that natural talent that you were talking about, Greg. I mean, like he grew up around it. He grew up with arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Like that's in his blood. That's his family. He grew up watching that. But again, I think the pressure, and especially for he's still a young kid, right? This is only really his first real year besides dominating high school football like all these dudes do in at their respective schools in high school. It's I don't think we've given him a fair shake as far as the timing yet because again we're only five games in, but the sky is obviously the limit with anybody whose last name is Manning for the most part. He's either going to make money in his State Farm commercials or Progressive commercials, or he's going to show out on the football field.
And I think one last game to touch on in the college football landscape. Obviously, there were a ton of great games Saturday, as there usually is, but Miami, Florida State, you look at a team like Miami loses their quarterback #1 pick to the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward, who got his first NFL win yesterday. In comes Carson Beck from Georgia, right? Goes there at the time. I don't know if he's currently still dating one of the Cavender twins who plays for the Miami basketball team, but he was, which was a big part that he transferred there. The other one's married to Jake Ferguson. Big ties, right? You look at a team like Miami and everyone's like, Carson Beck's not Cam Ward. Well, I don't know. Miami's 5-0, and here they are, right? And or whatever they are. I think 5-0, yeah. And they beat Florida State, who was a team that was on the upward trajectory coming into the season. And right now Miami is the collegiate school in the state of Florida to look at.
Yeah, so that was kind of my thing. UX, basically, anybody that knows me off the podcast and whatnot, being a Georgia fan was definitely not a Carson Beck fan. I thought, Gunnar Stockton should have been starting longer last year. I didn't think Beck could get it done. So when he transferred over to Florida, I didn't have faith in Florida. I was like, they're going to be a mediocre team. It's Carson Beck. I watched him play at Georgia. He didn't show me anything special. That being said, as a sportsman, you got to give props when props are due. He's playing great. He's leading Miami to beat these great teams. And, as of right now, they're only going up. He's playing great football this year. So hats off to him. And, it's interesting to see what he could do and if he could win that big game.
Absolutely. As we move from college football now to the NFL, big slate of Sunday games, lots of wins, some losses. 2 people are happy on this call, 2 people are unhappy on this call. Lots of games to cover, obviously more in depth in some situations than other, but like just kind of the big topics, for discussion first, rather than maybe breaking down every single game. You look at Houston, Baltimore, it's devastating. They're 1-4, maybe not devastating to you AFC folks, but like they're 1-4. You still don't want to see anybody get hurt in the league, right? Like Lamar Jackson's still pretty good quarterback. They're definitely struggling there. So, just kind of touching on that game, does anybody have any, insight they want to add from the Houston-Baltimore game?
Baltimore has been puzzling me all year. Like you look at that offense. I mean, you have Lamar Jackson, MVP of the league. You have Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the league at one point. And you would think like this team, and they made some off-season acquisitions to the defense. This might be, especially on a fantasy standpoint, because I have Baltimore as a defense on a couple of my fantasy teams. This might be one of the worst defenses I've seen in a long time. Like the numbers that they let a struggling CJ Stroud in Houston put up, like we could all admit that Houston has been struggling this year. Like the 3rd-year slump for CJ Stroud. Granted, he had a ton of guys like Tank Dell with that huge injury. That he was one of his best targets, but he still has weapons around him. But again, he still has like an old ass Nick Chubb. Like, when's the last time we heard about Nick Chubb? Like, he was a #1 pick in most fantasy leagues, like, not even 5 years ago. And Joe Mixon is out with the injuries and all that stuff. But to let a Houston team that is struggling, especially in the pass game, just the entire offensive game in general. And I'm lost for words at the defense. I really am, because you feel bad for guys like Lamar, because like obviously he didn't play this week with the injury, but there's only so much a quarterback can do, especially like he can keep you in games. Obviously, we know the type of player he is, but the defense also has to step up and do their job. And I just feel like in no way, shape, or form is that happening currently for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
that-
definitely agree. Greg, go ahead.
Sorry. All right. Yeah. Bouncing off that though, one thing I'm noticing with this Baltimore team, right, is the offense is not the issue. Aside from this past week when Lamar was really out, their offense, I mean, their first week, 40 points, 41 points, 30 points, then 20 points. Like Chris, kind of like you mentioned, the defense is what let them down constantly. Now, granted, their schedule has been pretty difficult, right? The Bills, Lions, Chiefs, but the Texans, there's no way you can let up 44 points to that.
It's a layup. It's a
You
layup.
can't. You
Yeah.
can't. Right? I mean, to lose by 34 points to them at home, it just can't happen. If you're a Jets fan, I could see it if you're the Jets, but not with this team.
Nah, I agree on everything, and especially like being a Bills fan, you always have those Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen debates. So I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson fan, but he's done everything he can this year. And again, being a Bills fan, we should not have beaten them week one. Lamar played out of his mind. Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards against us. Given I know Henry struggled with the fumbles the past couple of weeks, but yeah, their defense is a problem that needs. Given I know they got blown out by the Texans, they did have some injuries on defense, but still, they got to figure something out, and they got to figure it out fast. The thing that is interesting that I saw today, though, they're still the favorites to win the division, which
Yeah. It blows my
it's
mind.
crazy. I think the Steelers are getting a lot of disrespect for no reason, but somehow the Ravens are still the favorites to win the division.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how things play out down the line. Now, Greg, you mentioned the Jets. They played the Cowboys yesterday. You being a Jets fan, 0-5. This is like the first time that they've started 0-5 in a long time. There's conversations even that Dak Prescott is potentially the MVP now of the league. So, what are your, how are you, one, doing on this Monday because of that? And two, what do you think the issue is because of the Jets here?
I got to be honest with you. It feels like wherever the Jets do, no matter who they bring in, what they do, a dark rain cloud is always over that franchise's head. And I'm just kind of it's actually interesting because you think about the QBs that, in all honesty, that have left the Jets and produced a lot of good results, right? Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. Like it's pretty interesting how that's all played out. Having said that, though, the Jets, I know they're 0-5. They have too much talent to be 0-5. I'm not saying they should be 5-0. Trust me, I get that. But losing by this much each week in and out is I think they're underachieving, and that's me saying that knowing the Jets always underachieve, right? So something's got to change. Justin Fields has not looked great. The defense has looked god awful. At this point, you just gotta they gotta like just get it in their head, right? It's a new week. It's a new team they're playing. Because I feel like they're almost holding on to like each loss and kind of just like they're almost in like tank mode right now, it seems like. And that can't be the case in early October.
In
And I
week
think-
5.
Yes.
In week
In
5,
week 5.
right?
Yeah.
Week
Yeah.
5.
Yeah. Lots
Crazy.
of issues surrounding the New York Jets organization. We'll see how it unfolds here in the next couple of weeks. Moving over to a really good game yesterday in Denver and Philly. Philly gets their first loss of the season. Joey, I'll turn to you on this. You look at Philly. They're 4-0 going into this game, coming off a Super Bowl championship, right? Favored in the NFC again, most likely to win. But you put up 17 points on your first 7 drives, then your next 5 drives you don't score at all. And not even scoring at all, you're going from averaging over 5 to 6 yards a play to 2.1 yards a play. The week previously, you didn't score in the second half. So what is the problem in Philly?
Honestly, I think that they kind of, I think they beat themselves yesterday. A lot of controversial penalties to say the least. I know Dallas Goedert not getting a PI call late in the game, but then again, you got to give credit to the Broncos. They put up 18 unanswered in the fourth quarter, I think it was. Bo Nix played a great game. And the thing with the Eagles, you're known as this dominating rushing team. You have arguably the best running back in the league with Saquon, and people have trouble stopping him. They ran one handoff in the second half. One handoff. They made Jalen Hurts throw the ball, which I know there's been a lot of controversy over that can he pass, and he's only throwing for 100, 150 yards a game. But he had a great game yesterday throwing the ball. He threw for over 200 yards. I don't remember the exact number, but realistically, I don't know what's going on. I think the loss, and it's something in a later game that we'll get into also, I think the loss was good for them. I think it opens their eyes. It humbles them a little bit. You're not going to win every game. It's the NFL. Anybody could go out there and beat anybody on any given Sunday. But I think the loss does humble them, shows what their weaknesses are, and lets them improve. But one handoff in the second half to the best running back in the league, sorry, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think, you look at some of these other games and like we probably won't be able to get to all of them, but the game that we need to talk about before we move on to the next segment is the Bills Patriots. Obviously, Chris, Patriots get the win. You're in your gear. Joey alluded to wearing a hat and all Bills gear beforehand on the call if they would have won. Now, I think it's only fair before both of you get into this that Greg and I give a little bit of a synopsis. So, Greg, I'll start, then kick it to you, and then the boys can run with it for a couple of minutes. But going into this game, Greg, after you hopped off the call last week and we were kind of talking about bringing the podcast down, we had a little bit of chatter about this game and leading up to it and just, potentially how things could play out. And I honestly, this didn't come to a surprise to me. I genuinely thought going into this game that this was the Bills' toughest game on their schedule besides the Ravens week 1. Like currently, the Bills should be 2-2, all things considered, but they're 4-1. Like they should. And Drake May and Stephon Diggs. Diggs must have had this game circled on his calendar. He just had to announce his baby with, I think, Cardi B or whoever it is. And so he's probably flying high for a little bit, I guess. But, I think the Bills have some problems. I think the Bills have some defensive problems. I think this is the first year where you look at the Bills team and you're like, okay, the Chiefs aren't good. They're not as good, we should say. You look at the Ravens, they're 1-4. All right, here's Buffalo 4-0. Like last year in the stadium, but then you look at it and they're not in some aspects. The defense just can't get home. A lot of plays deep they're giving up. They're blitzing 9 times out of 10 against May, and you see that. Granted, I mean, it's swing passes here, doing this here, but they're working because you're just adjusting to the play calling. I truly think this is like Sean McDermott's year of like, what can you do when you potentially could be the best team in the AFC? Now, I think there's another team in the AFC right now that is playing also good football, but what do you think, Greg? Like, what do you see from an outside perspective as a Jets fan to both of these teams? You probably dislike them both. Patriots maybe more so than Buffalo just because of the years. But what are you thinking before we let Chris and Joey dive into it?
My honest thoughts. Got to be honest with you. Patriots look good. They as someone who didn't have extremely high expectations for them going into the season, to me they look better than I expected. Drake May looks like he's going to be their future QB. Right? Stephon Diggs definitely has the dad strength. That's a fact right now. He is absolutely producing, and he showed it last night. He even kind of mentioned it too. It was personal, right? So this is not a game where I'm thinking, oh my God, like how did the Patriots pull it off? Nothing surprises me with the Patriots anymore. We've grown up knowing that, right? But for me, the thing that I'm a little concerned with on the Bills side, right, is not necessarily Josh Allen. We know he's a top 3 to might even be the best QB in the league, right? That's no secret. Their defense is a little scary to me, right? There's only so much Josh Allen can do, right? He can't be the running back and the quarterback at the same time. Obviously, he's a great runner, but he's got to have the teammates around him to produce as well.
Chris, Joey, couple
you
minutes.
You guys won. You take it first.
Okay, so I will say this, and we kind of talked about it before we even started recording this before episode 1, we all got together. We kind of had our predictions for the weekend and everything like that. I, in no way, shape, or form, had any hope of us winning this game. I just want the audience, all the listeners, to know I had zero faith because, I mean, it's the Patriots. Like Greg said, we have no idea what we're going to get week to week. In years past, it's been really good. But in recent past years, within the past like 3-4 years, it's been really bad. And it's been really hard to watch. So going into this game, knowing how especially the first 3 games of the season, we were missing Christian Gonzalez, who is one of the analysts are saying it's lockdown corner, right? He's only in his third year, I believe. But he was clearly a very important player to that defense. You referenced last week's game against Carolina, where they pretty much shut their entire offense down, right? I mean, it's Carolina. You really can't base a whole lot off of playing the Carolina Panthers. But this was a big test, and I think these guys knew this going into this week. And I don't have extremely high hopes as of yet because of the past with Mac Jones, the past with Cam Newton. Granted, we got Cam Newton, let's be real, in the way later half of his career. But the whole Mac Jones project to me, who, by the way, is balling out in San Francisco right now. Love that for us. But, 74% completion rate with over 200 yards in 2 straight games, I believe. Besides the fumbles, which is a whole other topic, it's just how many times do we let Ramondre? And I mean, now it's going to be even harder because Antonio Gibson is out for the season with an ACL. How many more times are you going to give him? He's going to fumble the ball, but he scored 2 touchdowns. It's just you going back to what Greg said. You really don't know what you're going to get. But it is a breath of fresh air, I guess, to see that Drake May now has a weapon to go to, and technically too, because he's been favoring Hunter Henry like crazy for the first part of his career. And now you bring in a vet like Stephon Diggs. I know he has the off-field drama, and he's been a spicy character in the locker room in the past. You really don't know what you're going to get from him on that level. But I think last night he really showed up, and he really became that leader and that veteran, especially in that offensive room that the Patriots needed big time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think truly before I dive into it, first things first, I'm extremely confused on where this whole social media narrative came that this was such a big personal game for Diggs when he forced his way out of Buffalo.
I agree.
Did not just trade him out of the blue. This man forced his way out of Buffalo, but yet he was playing last night like we just completely traded him to Cleveland. It came out of nowhere. But with that being said, May and Diggs, their connection last night looked like Allen and Diggs' connection developing to be that level, because we know how dominating that was the year that Diggs was here. The biggest problem with the Bills, everybody just said it, it's their defense. Week 1 against the Ravens, Derrick Henry rushes for over 200 yards. Given it's Derrick Henry, I get that, but still, our run defense has been a problem probably the past couple years, and this year especially, an absolute liability at corner. Our secondary, it's our defense. And I know McDermott is this strong-minded defensive coach. I'm at the point where it's how many chances can we give this guy? It sucks to say because, the success he's had in Buffalo, where he's led us, I don't think that he's the coach for the Bills anymore to get the job done. I don't. I think we got to we should have went after Vrabel. That was a great signing by the Patriots. We should have went out of Harbaugh when he came out of Michigan. That was a great signing. Should have went after Belichick before he went to UNC. I don't think McDermott's the coach. Realistically, besides McDermott and the whole 13 seconds in the playoffs, if it's not for that, I think Josh has 1 or 2 Super Bowls by now. I think coaching and defense has let him down his whole career so far. And it's just trending in the same direction to where, we're going to make the playoffs. But what are we going to do? Lose to the Chiefs again in the divisional? Lose to, not the Bengals, they're not making this year, the Patriots in the playoffs? what's going to happen? And it was just the first half alone was the worst I've seen our offense play in probably close to 2 years. Just ridiculously sloppy penalties, fumbles. We had one turnover going into the game all year, and let alone that first half, we had an interception and I think two fumbles. The Bills have a lot of work to do. You go into Atlanta next Monday night, which is I'm not. I don't take any game as an easy game for the Bills because, like we said before, I know we talked about it before we started filming and everything. The Bills always play down to their competition, and that's not saying the Patriots are a bad team. They looked great last night, and May looks like he's the real deal. But there's never a blowout in a Bills game. Never. Chris?
So I think going back on your point a little bit as well, especially the first half, like the way that I viewed it, like it was still anybody's game, right?
Mhm.
Like the game was only decided by like a field goal, right? By the rookie
Yeah.
kicker who, in the past games, especially down in Miami, missed two literal extra points. Like, and then he goes and he wins it with the 53-yard field goal, right? But I think going back, an important thing here is the sloppiness of the first half by both teams, not just the Bills.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
like we fumbled the ball twice, once or twice. I don't remember exactly. But like in the penalties, like we had 11 penalties that game for like over 100 yards. I want to say and one of them was in a very crucial moment. Like the defender was lined up, a neutral zone infraction. Like you cannot make those mistakes, and that's where I alluded back to having that veteran presence. Obviously, you bring in a guy like Mike Vrabel, who was with the Patriots for a majority of his playing career, and he really learned the fundamentals of the game through guys like Bill Belichick and everything like that. Matt Patricia on the defensive side, and it's very sloppy. And what I take away from that game is I'm very happy that we won. Obviously, I wasn't expecting winning, so anything close was going to be a win for us, I think. But there's still so much to work on with this. Like 11 penalties for 100 yards in crucial moments of the game. Like I believe one of them was that neutral zone infraction was coming off of a potential pick, or it was like a third and long for the Bills that could have wrapped the game easy. But no, we go into like these replay of downs, and then Josh Allen pulls something out of his ass where he runs for like 15 yards, and then he like scrambles around, and then he throws like a 30-yard bullet to Keon Coleman, right? And so it's sloppy game. But I think I'm happy that we won, and that's all I'm going to say, because who knows what's going to happen next week? We could lose by 40. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. I mean, and last thing about this game is hats off to their rookie kicker. He came up clutch last night, and he got the job done for them.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of good things for the NFL, but we move on to the MLB here rather quickly, and then we have to do our brand new segment of Greg's Ball Bet of the Week. I can't wait for it to come. So that'll be right before the end there. So MLB, we'll talk on it real quickly. Only the Tigers and Mariners and the Yankees Blue Jays series are both 2 games. The Phillies Dodgers are playing, I think, as we speak, and Cubs Brewers play this evening. So obviously there's a team that's up 2-0, and there's another series that's split, and won't spend a ton of time on it. From my perspective, being a Yankees fan, I feel that it's the Yankees batting. Like that's what it comes down to yet again. I've said it year over year. I think it's just you get up into the box, you look at these teams that you play against, and yes, Vlad has a grand slam and Springer hits a home run, and there's some individualized efforts, but that grand slam doesn't happen if people get on base. And that's the biggest thing with the Yankees. Like they are not patient in the box. They're swinging at sweepers that are 10 feet outside of the box. Stanton, I don't even think knows what the strike zone is. I'm still convinced Giancarlo Stanton has no idea what an actual strike zone is. Like, I think he just swings. And that's the difference right now. Like, that's all I have to say. Like, that's the difference. Could it be 2-2? And maybe when we talk next week, like the Yankees are under the ALCS, possibly it happened in 2017, but I can't say that's for certain. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't know anything about the Seattle series. I haven't even watched it, so I have nothing to add there except that I guess go Mariners. Greg, what do you feel as a Yankees fan? Keep it brief.
There's no fight in them right now. They're in all honesty, they're kind of going down a few runs and then just kind of falling flat, right? Like, and that's on both sides of the ball. Not even just their hitting, which obviously their hitting right now is woof. But when it comes to their pitching too, right? Luke Weaver has not gotten a single out these playoffs except for the last game where it was like 10-run game. You put him in a close game, and he legitimately has not gotten a single out.
Wasn't his ERA like infinity?
It was quite
And then he
literally
got him out, and then it's like
INF,
135.
infinite. It was
135 ERA is absurd.
It's you could throw me out there, and it would be a little better than that, probably. Probably not, but I'm not getting paid millions to do it. So, look, they've done it before. It's not the first time it's happened. But they gotta figure it out. I heard over like recently that Giancarlo had a players only meeting with the team yesterday after the game. I don't know what was said. I wasn't there, but I heard it was a pretty fiery speech, hoping it lights something under their ass. But at this point, it's do or die, right? Every game is elimination now.
Yeah, no, I think you guys, do you guys have either of you, Chris or Joe, have anything to add about the MLB in general before we get to the bald bet of the week?
Yeah, so I'd say I have one quick thing about the Yankees series. Now, given this is just kind of like a past experience thing, I haven't really watched too much playoff baseball. I currently do have the Dodgers game on, but I'm really not paying attention to it. With the Mets not being in the playoffs, I don't really watch too much playoff baseball. But what I've said in the past years, yeah, I know, so I really don't watch a lot of playoff baseball in general. But what I've said in the past years, I don't know how the Yankee fans are going to take this. Aaron Judge is like Lamar Jackson, MLB. He's phenomenal in the regular season, but when the postseason comes, he starts trending down. That's just my take.
I don't think you're wrong. Unfortunately,
If we had
I also think we got to
time,
fire Aaron Boone.
Yes, if we had some more time, I would try to debate that heavily, but I won't do that right now. Chris, anything to add before we get to Greg's bet?
Yeah. I think just a little bit touching on the other series, Tigers and Mariners. The Mariners pitching staff is basically what's carried that team. They have a top 5 rotation in the MLB, and additionally, they have a roid rage Cal Raleigh, who out of nowhere this season has hit 60 bombs, and yeah. I mean he's batting 260, but like all of his hits are fucking bombs. So that's an easy formula to be really good and have a really good team, especially with what Julio Rodriguez does. They have a decent defense, but that pitching staff has been amazing. And on the Tigers end of things, we did notice a little bit of a slide for the Tigers at the end of the year. I mean, I believe they were up 15 games and just completely lost all momentum. I don't know Tarik Skubal is going to go in there and he's going to dominate every game a majority of the time, just like with the Red Sox and Crochet, what you're going to get on those specific days, right? But I think, in my honest opinion, I think Mariners edge this out just based off of the starting pitching talent. And I think a little bit more of the consistent power bats for the Mariners. But I do think, I'll take the Mariners on this one.
Greg, it's your time to shine before we log off. It is the new segment, Greg, bald bet of the week. What do we got?
So, only fitting when I make this bet. There's no reason to keep this on.
Yeah.
So, the bald bet of the week. It's going to be a hot take for my first one of the year. Jets get their first W in London, 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday.
All right, against Denver.
Granted,
all right.
Broncos have been hot. They've been kind of running the table the last few games. I think it's a trap game, right? Okay. Everyone's killing the Jets right now. Why not come in there and think that they're going to win by 40 and end up not winning that game at all? That's my bald pick of the week.
All right.
Let's see what happens.
All right. We got Greg's bald bet of the week. Great first episode. Does anybody have anything else to add before we wrap up?
Just want to say, once again, like I said in the beginning, we are officially back. I couldn't be happier to have Sal, Greg, and Chris with me. and we're gonna make this something special. So stay tuned and stay along for the ride.